It says it's streaming. Preparing live stream.
Oh, we're live.
Thank you.
It says.
So this is going to be recorded without makeup on.
Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Love you anyway.
We are there. So we are live. Perfect. So welcome everybody. Obviously I am not Amazing Hiring. So if you don't if you don't know who we are or who I am, I just want to introduce myself, and then I'll introduce the lovely Lundgrenbergs. My name is Mark Lundgren. You have not met me yet, as I have one of the last trainings of the Amazing Hiring Tech Sourcer training. But what we wanted to do was just to have, instead of constantly going back in the groups and in the crowdcast, we wanted to give you an opportunity to get more in-depth answers to some of the questions that we are getting during the training. Kim and Gordon, who I'm going to introduce in a second, have done an amazing job so far in the last, 2 weeks of all the training they've done. But there've been a lot of questions, because even with the hour that we have every week, twice a week, it's still not enough to answer all of those questions. So I wanted for you to get to know Kim and Gordon a little bit better, and also for us just to put it what we're going to do in the days off. So Mondays and Wednesdays until the end of the Amazing Hiring training, we're going to go live on this channel, the Amazing Hiring channel, just talk a bit about what the training was about and some of the questions, and also introduce the new trainers that you haven't met yet. So yeah, maybe to Kim and Gordon, people know you both by now, but talk a bit about some of the questions that you've had in the sessions that you've had so far, both in terms of you did a lot of the kind of tech sites last time, but also in terms of the LinkedIn training that you've had.
You go ahead.
Oh, well, okay, now welcome everybody. Yeah, as Mark said, we want to do some extra information after the sessions, because the sessions are way too short. I mean, we can talk, Mark and us have been talking for over an hour already about all the stuff we do and what we want to learn you. A lot of the questions are about the scraping. For instance, can you scrape this side? Can you scrape that side? Again, I think the biggest takeaway from all the sessions is trial and error. Don't you agree, Mark? I mean, that's...
No, and I think it's about the level that we wanted to put this training on as well. Like I kind of see 3 different levels of training for sourcing. So level 1, which is what we do most of the training, basic training, quote unquote, where you go into Boolean. I've trained people on Boolean who's been in recruitment for 20 years, because if you don't use it daily, you get rusty, you don't think about it. You kind of need a refresher on that. That's why we go into Boolean. That's why we put it up again. That's why we spend an hour on that. Going through the different sites, you might not have to go to Dribble. You might not have to go to Behance. But that day where you do have to find somebody, you'll remember that training. That's the kind of level 1. You're going through, Boolean, you're going through LinkedIn, you're going through the different sites and touch upon what you can do. The next level, advanced sourcing, for me, that's when you start talking scrapers. That's when you start really going down into URL manipulation, a lot more on the Google Docs, really looking in some of the things that is not intuitive to most of the sourcers.
It's the creative part.
Yeah, but don't you think even like, and I think that's already hard to explain in just 1 hour a week or every 2 days, is the whole principle. So sourcing is a methodology, but also the principle of the basics of sourcing is how to dissect a web page. Yeah. And I think in the last session with Dribble and Kegel, we could explain it really well, because it was unknown sites. When you do the known sites, like X-Ray in Google for one, but in LinkedIn, if you immediately go back to what they are used to. So this is how I do it on LinkedIn. So they don't look at how the pages or the web page or the system is built up. It's going back to school. How do you dissect a sentence? I mean, I know I was really bad at it, but in the beginning, of course, Gordon and a lot of his friends taught me how to source. But when you understand how a web page is built up, like, what do you see? What's the unique things in the URL? Once you got that for one, And then the second,
and
and then
also
go.
be not afraid to what you said. It's trial and error, but also be not afraid to change things in the URL or to change something in the syntax I brought to the screen. Just change words or change commands or just start changing things. Start become creative in there. And that is it's not something you do after work. It's part of your work. The crazy stuff, the really extreme crazy stuff, usually that you do after work. But on the
Way
other
after.
hand, I asked the help desk employee in our company back in the years, like, could you install this software called Second Life on my computer? And then he came to me like, how are you playing games during work? I said, no, I just have to check something. So it's also the
I think
flexibility you build
Second
up.
Life, by the way, but that's for another story. But I think that was a great recruitment platform at back in the day. I mean, it was.
It was cool. You could advertise there. You could actually employ people on there. You could
No, but
actually
it
pay
is.
them.
I mean, if you look
You
at,
could walk around and
yeah, no,
network.
but it failed completely. But if you look now at this situation we're at now, Second Life would be a freaking hit.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Well, back in the years,
absolutely.
computers were also quite
Isn't
slow to have all the
No,
graphics.
but
and everything.
especially now.
Didn't they get a comeback a couple of years ago? Like it's still active?
Yeah, but in a really, really small community, I guess.
Okay.
No, but we're here to answer questions. We get a lot of questions through LinkedIn. If you're not connected to either Mark, Gordon, and me, try Gordon. If you
And definitely, I mean, the scraping, I understand people want to know. I think part of why we don't go into detail with a lot of these tricks, what you notice as well, we don't talk about tools a lot. And there's a very good reason for that. It's not because that we don't want to promote tools. Obviously, Amazing Hiring is a tool, it's a people aggregator. And it's not that we don't want to promote other tools because it's, the training is under the brand of Amazing Hiring. But what's important for us is that everybody learns how to do this, how to source on different networks without using tools. Amazing Hiring has, are indexing over 50 different social networks. But if you don't understand which type of people are in each network, that's useless. Like we can go in and if you have Amazing Hiring, you can go in and filter the results based on what network the results are from. But if you don't know what the difference between those different networks are, or that you can't go in and kind of look at, okay, I can see I get a result here, but how would I find that myself? That's what we want. Like you can give you all the scrapers and all the people aggregator tools, but if you don't know how to do it manually, you're not going to really learn it.
What I see a lot of times is that people they get their Google trick, and then 2 years later they use the same Google trick and they get the same results, and they're not able to change it. Like, I use this. In the meanwhile, LinkedIn has changed, the world has changed, job titles are not there anymore, but they stick to this one. I get an account manager with this thing and I keep it there.
Like we have it now with LinkedIn changing locations. It's a good example. It's like what worked 6 months ago when everything was Google location terminology. Now, like if you don't know what the Randstad is, you're going to think that everybody like on LinkedIn works for a big RPO because most of the people in the Netherlands now is the Randstad because that's the Microsoft terminology because it's a geographical thing, not just the Google.
No, and oh, by the way, we also have one of the biggest companies in the Netherlands called Randstad.
Yeah. Exactly.
How do you think your X-ray will work when you put that in? It doesn't. You need to keep an open mind, and also that being said, the sourcing tools out there like Amazing Hiring only work if you have the basic skills in your brain or in your embodied
when you understand
work
what and or not is and what excluding is and including is and stuff like that.
Exactly. But it's and I think well, especially you two guys, I'm a baby in this now, but the only tools we use is when it's necessary or easy. And then we call it productivity tools. They're not necessarily sourcing tools, like the multi-highlight, like the auto scroller. But the multi-highlight for me is just, it's free and it's out there and it makes me work way faster through all the profiles.
Yeah. Glossary text, same thing. It's
exactly.
They made a brilliant tool. You probably even pay for it, but it's like, how do I find information, credible information quickly on what a specific technology means, and what, if I'm looking for a specific thing, what are the frameworks that fall into that family? If you're not in tech, if you're new to tech sourcing, it's like, how do you start? Like, you read a job description and you don't understand, having glossary tech and kind of looking that up, I'm like, that's a framework. What's other framework that are similar? Where did
I
that
love
come
the
from?
fact from glossary tech that they now also have, like, okay, when you use this framework, these are the languages which are fitting, because that was what I was struggling in with when I started into tech sourcing, which for me is still one of the easiest ones because you have a hard skill set.
Yeah, it's easy to
But-
find. They're hard to get to talk to, but they're easy to find.
Yeah, so, but that's where you guys come in. But on the other hand, so the glossary tech helped me enormously, but I had it once with one of the partners we worked with who claimed he knew everything about tech, and he was explaining rules to me. So and then I was fortunate enough that a developer was sitting next to me. He's like, he's talking BS. This was pre-glossary tech. And again, that's happening a lot of the times. A lot of you guys are even in an agency or in an RPO where you do not have the time to immediately get into all these new roles. And especially in IT, I mean, it differs every day. Then glossary tech is your way to go. I mean,
it's a good start, but don't forget the communication with the people that work already in that position. Just ask them, what actually are you fixing here? What's the problem? Well, how you fix it? Why is this a cool job to do? What is the amount of information you're working with?
Exactly.
What is the amount of code?
We had it with Neve, with Nieves, who was on was on my show a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, yeah, I haven't been in sourcing for a long time, but I'm married to a developer, so that gives me an edge. But it also says, look, when I didn't know, I asked the engineering manager, can I talk for 15 minutes to each member of your team to get to understand what they're working on? And he said, yeah, absolutely. If you need more than 15 minutes, absolutely. And that small thing, I think, like, I've heard it before as well. Stacy Sarpar talked about it at the conference. It's so simple, but people forget it. It's like, you come in and you think you know everything. I'm the recruiter. I know, I've worked with these roles before.
Join them at the lunch table.
Yeah,
join them at the lunch table.
Absolutely.
See what the hobbies are. Play the table food with them.
I've loved going to their meetups. So I've been lucky enough to work in a couple of companies where we were doing tech meetups and going along, but not in a recruitment capacity, just going along and like, tell me about,
Most of the time there's pizzas and beers, right?
Exactly. I mean, worst case scenario, you get to hang out with the people you work with and have a beer with them, and you might end up getting more information that you bargained for. But and you're gonna meet some candidates who are there, and they might apply for a job in 6 months, but like, that's their first impression of the company. So go along and just be there. Don't be the recruiter. Just be there and learn all the tech.
I think as a source, sorry, the sun is changing rapidly at night in the Netherlands. We need to work on that.
Smart thinking.
Oh, yes, thank you. No, but one of the things is don't try to be a developer, but be human. As a sourcer, you always need to be human. I did build websites back in the day. Of course, I don't know how to do it on these different frameworks. But to be honest, if you're fair enough about it, like, okay, don't mind me make a mistake, call me whatever you want, but on profile with the tech, I think you are a good match or whatever. I'm not saying that you need to use this message, but one big advice, even if you know a lot about tech, don't try to expose it like I'm a big tech believer or whatever, because they will see right through you.
Yeah. I talk to a lot of candidates because a lot of the sourcing that I do, we do that screening as well. And a lot of that, just being honest, when you start asking the technical question, you always get the answer, like the question back, like, how much do you understand? I'm like, I don't. I know enough to kind of, I need to know the answers because that's what the managers that I'm working with are looking for, but I don't understand the tech. So, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old, because that's pretty much my understanding. And just being honest, it's like not trying to BS them about how much you know. because they will look through that as well and just saying, like, I don't understand, explain it to me, because I need it for where to put you in the best light in this group of
and again, especially with it depends on the code you're looking for, but there are some developers, and well, of course, I don't want to generalize anything, but who love to talk about their own work. And if you explain, like, well, I am interested, I have a low level of understanding, but if you, exactly what you said, this is not completely different, but I was talking to an OutSystems developer the other week, which I think is like a really cool platform, which I do want to learn myself, but I'm not the average sourcer or recruiter. I think I spent 2.5 hours with this candidate on the phone, but that's showing passion from both sides. And because you ask the right questions, like explain it to me as if I would understand it, and they can, they can get the job because they can sell them in as well. Perfect. And on the other side, you need to have just like a coding challenge or whatever.
Yeah. What can people expect from your session, your training session tomorrow, the Amazing Hiring Sourcing Training?
Oh my God, yeah, it's going to be the two of us, and we're going to talk about Twitter.
Woohoo!
And it's really funny because I found my first tweet back again. I lost it, it's still there. That one is from 2007. So it's like ages ago.
I must admit, I only joined Twitter 3-4 years. I didn't see the point of it, so yeah,
it's an.
I'm looking forward to seeing it tomorrow because it's.
So that is.
It's one of the points I know I'm not good at, so definitely gonna follow along as well.
And the cool thing is, there's a lot of things. A lot of things have changed in Twitter. They went complete commercial a couple of years ago. They bought TweetDeck, which was my favorite tool back then. A lot of tools that would work on Twitter back in the years, all done. But the principle behind it is still very cool. People talk about what they like and where they go to and what's happening on the toilet.
And I still think Twitter is valid for tech.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, very, very, absolutely.
I don't know. Were you the one who was talking about Twitter, like, and the Dutchies? That was you, right? A couple of days ago, I said someone like, oh, Twitter. Well, it was a comment on sourcing on Twitter, and it was except for the Dutchies. Apparently, in the Netherlands, tweeting is much higher than in other European countries.
I don't think it was me, but like, yeah, for tech, definitely.
No, it was Bala.
Finding a developer in a specific language. Yeah, find a person who invented the language, because you want to find developers, they will follow that person. You want to find a Ruby on Rails developer, you go to DHH, you go to his Twitter followers. 99% of them are developers in Ruby on Rails. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing which is similar to why you would go to a meetup group. It's an affinity network. Like, why would you follow DHH unless like you're interested in Ruby on Rails, or you just like his rambling about anything political at the moment?
Well, and on the other hand, there are some really cool tools on Twitter. So especially for other circumstances, not necessarily for sourcing, but for intelligence services and stuff, which you actually could use in sourcing. And they're free to use tools. I'm not sure if we're going to mention them, but if you want to learn more, we will probably discuss it on Wednesday then.
Yeah.
But that's how I reinvented Twitter. I mean, that was because I was doing the OSINT training, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, wait a minute. If you put that tool on just Java or Python, or there's an upgrade, oh man, you got a whole new database of people who are into, maybe new, maybe old. Yeah, you do not know from Twitter if they're senior or junior.
There'll be some tricks in there tomorrow. We're not going to tell them everything now.
No, but I'm just saying, but because one of the questions we had on GitHub was, I seem to get only junior programmers on GitHub, how to source for seniors or juniors. Yeah, on a lot of platforms, it's not designated. Yeah. You need to search further. Redirect back to LinkedIn, or
some of it is inferred. It's like on GitHub, it's like yeah, if you're finding somebody who has repositories going back to 2007, they're probably more senior. You know, things like that, or the number of repositories, it could be an indication. Could also just be that they're forking a lot of whatever is, you know,
the amount of followers is a good one. A lot of things
stars, yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, don't sorry, I'm probably gonna say something in Dutch. I've translated too literally in English, but don't still blind on it.
Oh yeah, don't fall in love with it. You know, don't.
No, because
yeah.
I mean, I know.
got you.
No, because I know quite some really senior guys who will never do repositories on GitHub because they don't care.
But also like Git Awards, where you were like, oh, you know, but Git Awards is purely based on stars. So yes, it gives you some indication of this person has developed in that language, is from that location, and has a lot of stars.
I believe it's a combination of stars and forks.
It could be, absolutely. Yeah. But again, it's similar to Stack Overflow. It's like if they've been on Stack Overflow from the beginning, they will have a high score. If they just, like, they could have been 20 years in development and they just joined, then they won't have, but they're still like somebody you would want to talk to.
If you have really hardcore backenders from back in the day, and especially if I'm talking to like the Dutch environment, the hardcore Java PHP guys who are from back in the day, 90% will not even be on GitHub because they don't care. They live for their development. And they might be even now new on GitHub because they know times are changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So it's never one or the other.
Perfect. Also, for everybody who wants to get to know Kim and Gordon a bit better, I will post a link to Kim's interview on the Sourcing Challenge show. It's like a year and a half. Gordon's just came out today. So if you have not
finally,
I'll put a link to that as well. So definitely. And if for some reason you're watching this and you did not yet sign up for the Amazing Hiring Sourcing Training, I don't know what you're waiting for. I'll put the link to that as well in this description. Get on it. Join us tomorrow. If you're watching this after, tough luck, but definitely join us.
No, but they can still sign up. Mark.
They can still sign up
till June 2nd, I think.
Exactly. You'll still be able to see the recordings from the trainings. Join us on Wednesday. Probably going to be at 7 o'clock European time, so same time as the training. We're going to talk to Kim and Gordon again, answer any kind of questions that is left over from the training, and introduce Joanne, who's going to be doing the diversity training next week. On Thursday. So we definitely want to introduce Joanne, just so you can get to know her. You're ready for the training on Thursday. So thank you very much. Join us tomorrow for Kim and Gordon, and join us again on Wednesday when we talk to Kim and Gordon again, answer any questions, and introduce Joanne.
See you. Bye-bye.
Guys.